Welcome back into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey. We are a couple weeks away from the NFL trade deadline, but boy, we are getting movements here across the NFL. Not one, but two trades going on today. So we will break down both of those here on today's live show. Well, I want to go to those to begin with here, and we'll check back on in these kind of throughout the show. So first up, the one that happened most recently was the Odafe Oweh trade is probably like the big name of it there. The Chargers and the Ravens agreeing to a deal truly moments ago here. The Chargers getting pass rush help in Odafe Oweh, a 7th-round pick via the Rams heading to L.A., so a lot of traded picks on that front. The Ravens getting Alohi Gilman, so a starter there at safety for the Ravens coming aboard as they move forward. They're probably one L in that name if you can change it for me. One L, not two. A 2026 5th-round pick also going to the Ravens. So shuffling going on for both of those. I think it's interesting. Chargers did need some pass rush help. I don't love the Ravens pass rush room, so I'm a little bit surprised they made that move. I don't know if they're fully in on, punting on the season yet, but noteworthy on that front. Odafe Oweh to the LA Chargers. The Ravens getting Alohi Gilman and a 5th-round pick in 2026. The other trade that went down earlier today was the Joe Flacco deal, as Flacco heads to the Cincinnati Bengals. A 6th-round pick. I believe these are both in 2026, by the way. 6th-round pick in 2026. And Flacco, of course, to the Bengals. A 5th-round pick to the Cleveland Browns. Shout out the Browns being able to flip some day two or get picks back for quarterbacks that weren't going to be factors at all in those deals. So two notable trades there. I want to begin with who you got for the Thursday night football game. I think I know who most people are going to go with. I'm also going to make the pinned poll, by the way, who won the Joe Flacco trade. We'll check in on that here in a little bit. Stay tuned. Browns, Bengals. Get your votes in. Who you got? E for the Eagles and G for the Giants. Junior Estrada, Shelley, Marcos Mann, all typing in their E's. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? I think the Eagles win this game. I kind of needs to be a get-right game, Philadelphia, coming off of a frustrating loss. I'll put it that way. Do have a G vote from Rico Dowdle Worshipper. What a week for you it was, dude. Congrats. Hope you played him in fantasy if you have a fantasy team. Guys, Jones, Chua, Whitney Dang, typing in E's there. Jungian Theory says G as well. The reporting here is kind of like the Ravens wanted Gilman in particular because they needed safety help, but always a pretty big price to pay there. I'm curious what else ends up happening here in Baltimore with these moves. Like, you were supposed to have Malik Hooker be your, or not Malik Hooker, Malachi Starks be your deep safety. It's interesting. Get your votes in E or G in the comments of today's show. We've already had two today. How many trades end up happening before the NFL trade deadline? Schefter has said this. I think it makes a lot of sense. I would not be surprised if Monday and Tuesday we get a lot of trade action in the NFL because doesn't it just make sense? Teams are in need of help at that position. Trade deadline's getting closer. The contenders and pretenders very much beginning to emerge here. How many trades happen before the NFL trade deadline? I got to change my phone before it dies on me. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. I see 5 from DC Times Viper, 8 from Junior Estrada, 4 from Chua. Keep the comments coming. How many trades happen before the NFL trade deadline? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. And on top of that, how about you have a player who actually gets dealt? Bonus points if you guys call this and get it right. Name a player who you think ends up getting dealt. 20 trades from Skyler, by the way. Electric City, I hope it happens. Trades are fun. Trades are awesome. It gets the people going. Like, I hope they're provocative. I hope more trades happen. 5, 4, 6, 8. Christians, I think Kirk Cousins gets traded. We'll discuss this. I actually think the Kirk Cousins trade, or sorry, the Joe Flacco trade makes it less likely anybody else ends up getting moved. Just because, well, the Bengals were the quarterback team. They went out and got one. Maybe not a good one, but they got one. I see Trey Hendrickson from Chua. That would not be a shock, although going after Flacco makes it feel less likely, at least for now. We'll see how the next couple weeks play out. Michael Pittman to Pittsburgh. The Colts are good. He said upward inflection indicating surprise over it. I don't think they're going to trade him. Chris Olave, maybe. If I were the Saints, I'd probably pay him because Rashid Shaheed is awesome. He's fast. He's a vertical threat. He's not a number one, though. He's a good number two if Olave can stay healthy. Now, if you don't think he's going to stay healthy, different conversation. Braxton Jones is a fun name, actually, because he's kind of benched in the Bears, has played some games in the NFL, started a bunch of games, frankly, in the NFL. That could be a decent get something back and move on there. Evan Neal, I could see him getting dealt. I don't know if anybody wants him, but I think he's available. Brandon Cooks, don't hate it. Don't know if he's got anything left in the tank at this point, but yeah. All right, who won the Joe Flacco trade? CIN for the Bengals, CLE for the Browns. Let me know in the comment section of today's show who won the Flacco trade. CIN, CLE. Get those votes in for me in the comments of today's show. It's also the pinned poll that you can vote on. In case you forgot what the trade was, Flacco and a 6th-round pick via Detroit to the Browns, or from the Browns, in exchange for a 5th-round pick. That's a Detroit 6th-round pick, a Browns 5th-round pick. So that's a pretty decently sized drop, about as extreme as you'll get between the 5th and the 6th round until you start moving around comp picks and stuff. So 63% voting the Browns, which I do agree with. It would have been way more fun to have Winston come be the quarterback because that would have kept you would have been able to win some games with him. You would have lost a game or two because of him, but he would have won you a game or two. I don't know if Flacco has the juice anymore. Speaking of the Browns, I do like the Jerome Ford call out by Ramy43. Can I pitch him to the Chargers? I think that's actually a strong fit. He can be the backup once Hampton's back and can handle things in the meantime. So I actually do like that one, that call out a good bit there. Help us out by liking today's video. The goal was always that 50% like ratio. So if you haven't already done so, help us by liking today's video. Free, simple, and easy to do. We are about 30% on the like ratio side, 102 people plus 100 plus people watching, about 30-ish likes. So like the video, please, and thank you if you haven't already done so. Coming up next, NFL trade rumors. We'll discuss the trades that have happened so far. We'll discuss all of those and with where things sit at this time. NFL Mailbag, 2 ways to get in on the show. Hashtag NFL, skip the line altogether via Super Chat. And we will have a 2026 NFL mock draft for you guys. Omar's burner, which I think is just Omar Khan's burner, was what it originally was. Here before they show another first-round mock without Heisman favorite Carson Beck listed. LOL, what a joke. You'll have to wait and see if he's in there. I will make note, there is a stark difference in the Heisman Trophy odds and the first overall pick odds. And there is a reason for that. Because one is totality of their career and future, and one is just what they are doing this year. So we will get to all of that here on today's show. Don't miss out, and get those questions in via hashtag NFL so you can get your questions, comments, thoughts, etc. answered on our mailbag. A busy day of trades across the NFL. For the most part, we're going to focus in on 6 different trade rumors that have been floated out there with the 2025 NFL trade deadline approaching. We will also discuss the 2 trades that happened today across the NFL. And hey, we'll see if a third one happens tonight on top of that. If you want all the latest trade buzz across the NFL, the news, the rumors, everything else in between, hit that sub button right now so you don't miss out. 2 trades went down today. The second one will happen just before we went live today on NFL Daily. Intriguing is the one-word reaction for it for me. Odafe Oweh, the edge rusher, and a 7th-round pick via the Rams in 2027, so not this year, but next year, heading over to the LA Chargers. The Ravens getting a new starting safety, Aloe Gilman, and a 5th-round pick in 2026. Kind of been pushed by some national media as the Ravens wanted the safety help, but sacrificing Oweh is interesting. I tend to prefer that trade a little bit more for the Chargers, who badly needed the pass rush help there. Plus, Tony Jefferson looks like he's actually a good player still, which is hilarious, speaking of former Ravens and current Chargers, by the way. The maybe more notable name trade, because it's a quarterback, Joe Flacco heading to the Cincinnati Bengals, the extremely rare AFC North deal, a 6th-round pick via the Lions, also heading to the Bengals, the Browns getting a 5th-round pick, so kind of big tier gaps there, with the Browns drafting likely early in the 5th round, and the Bengals potentially drafting early in the 5th round, and the Lions drafting late in the 6th round. So big pick swap difference there. Still kind of amounts to a 6th, 7th round pick, somewhere in that ballpark, but is noteworthy. Who won the Joe Flacco trade? CIN for the Bengals, CLE for the Browns. Let me know in the comment section of today's show who you think won the trade. Next up, especially after the Joe Flacco trade, will there be any more quarterback trades? CBS Sports had reported before the Flacco deal that most of the notable quarterback names were not drawing interest. They specifically mentioned Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, and Anthony Richardson. That does align with the report that came out from I think it was Diana Rossini on the Flacco trade that the Bengals never called the Giants about Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. With the Bengals off the board, it seems like, outside of an injury, I don't know if you're going to get a quarterback trade. Kirk Cousins is maybe, I don't think we can lock it in, the best one of that bunch, but he's expensive. I don't know if the Cowboys actually, or the Falcons actually want to eat any of the money. That's a red flag there. Russell Wilson, look, outside of one game against the really bad Cowboys defense, he's not playing well. He doesn't look good at all out there. Anthony Richardson, there was the report from ESPN that Richardson wanted to go play for a team with a bright quarterback mind, innovator, play caller to maximize him. And I'm kind of like, well, but Shane Steichen is cooking with Daniel Jones. That might be a you problem, AR. I don't know if there's much interest there because the contract's set to expire soon and you're not going to develop him properly. I think, especially with the Bengals off the board, kind of feels like no. Now, that can all change if a player goes down with an injury, and I think it probably would change, but let's knock on wood, hope for no injuries here. So will another quarterback be traded? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show, will another QB get dealt before this year's deadline? I want to address the A.J. Brown trade rumors. He is reportedly frustrated in Philadelphia. Devonta Smith reportedly frustrated in Philadelphia as well. And the trade rumors, or maybe just trade hopes for a different franchise to land him, those just won't stop. Look, A.J. Brown has been a disappointment this year. I think he is upset with his deployment, his usage. He's only got 19 catches for 194 yards and a touchdown. That's not good. He wants more. He wants more touchdowns. The biggest issue about limiting a trade is the Eagles would lose over $9 million in salary cap space with a trade. They don't save any money with the way the A.J. Brown contract is structured. Trading him would actually cost them more salary cap space. Now, they can do that. They're very creative with how they manage their money. But despite the apparent issues, which kind of continue to linger under the surface, I would be surprised if the Eagles actually ended up flipping A.J. Brown, especially right now. I'm not even convinced it happens next year. You can maybe revisit after June 1st next year, but I don't see as many trades in that timeline. Today's show is made possible by Ethos. As a father of 2 kids now, which is fun and also tiring, it's not fun to think about what would happen if something happened to you, but you do need to be prepared. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL daily. That's ethos.com/NFL daily. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry, and as of March 2025, was named by Business Insider as the number No medical exam, instant life insurance provider. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. No medical exam is required. You just answer a few health questions and get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times may vary, rates may vary. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Some trade rumors coming out of Fox Sports. They say Mark Andrews is a potential trade candidate before the deadline. And you do wonder if they flipped away Odafe Oweh, even though they got a starter at safety back, maybe they could look to shop Mark Andrews. Big issue here is, does he actually generate that much interest? There had been, this is not new trade rumors on Mark Andrews, but they kept him into the season and haven't flipped him yet. 17 catches, 150 yards. Yeah, he was really productive last year in a very impressive fashion, but he's battled some injuries. The touchdowns were productive. The yards, the catches, all of that had kind of been phased out a little bit in favor of the production for Isaiah Likely. The contract also presents some complications here. $7 million base salary in 2025. Is it nothing? Now, it's the prorated figure, so it's going to be like $3.5–4 million. But that's an aging tight end. Does a team like Jacksonville, if they think they're going to be down Brenton Strange for longer than 4 weeks, team? Maybe. Of note, and this does kind of like make me doubt the report a little bit. It was the same reporter as part of like a conglomerate article on Fox Sports of like different reporters for them. They also mentioned Elijah Vera Tucker in the same sentence, which I just don't think makes any sense. Like, he's hurt. You don't trade hurt guys and get good value back. You trade them once they're healthy. Like that's why asterisks on that one for me. So name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. What player do you think ends up getting dealt? A name I do think makes sense from the New York Jets is Breece Hall. Now, the injury to Braylon Allen might complicate things here a little bit, but the Jets are the worst team in football. They're 0-5. They're not going to be a playoff team. It is rebuilding time in New York. It is building for the future time. It makes you worse, but if you get something decent back for Breece Hall, more than the comp pick might fetch you, although you might be spending in free agency, so maybe you don't even want to play that game, Breece Hall does make some sense. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry this year, coming off a good game against the Cowboys, despite the Jets not having a good game against the Cowboys. 45.5% success rate is pretty darn solid. Hall is looking a little bit more like the best version of himself. If you're averaging almost 5 yards per carry, the dual threat quarterbacking, I think, does benefit him a little bit there. This is closer to the best version. The touchdowns aren't high. Yeah, I don't know if I can blame him for that, though. That might be more of a team issue for anything else. So there are several teams in the market for a running back, from the Bears to maybe the Chiefs to others. The Chargers are fighting for a spot. There could be some running back movement this year at the deadline. Another name, again mentioned by Fox Sports, is Alvin Kamara, and they listed him as one of the Saints' top trade candidates. They also mentioned Chris Olave. Something tells me we'll spend a lot of time on the Saints trade options the next couple weeks, so we'll revisit Olave in the future. I want to focus on the running backs. We'll come back to AK here. Who is more likely to be traded? AK for Alvin Kamara, BH for Breece Hall. Let me know in the comments section of today's show, which player do you think is more likely to get moved? Breece Hall just has the final year of his contract. He's super cheap. Kamara is cheap, but kind of isn't, for the Saints at least. They've already paid him pretty much all of his money. It kind of feels like this is going to be his last year in New Orleans with the way it's all set up to do everything, and he might even, outside a chance he retires maybe after this year. You're viewing him as rental, but he's a cheap rental. 2.64, and it's prorated figure, so it's like 1.75 if you trade for him at the deadline, somewhere in that ballpark. That's affordable for anybody. The problem is, boy, how much more does Alvin Kamara really have left in the tank for you? It kind of feels like it's not that much at this time. And that's the concern. Where, look, the numbers, haven't been that great on the ground. They kind of rebounded last year in only 14 games played, but this year, it kind of regressed back to previous form. The success rate is not very good. He doesn't look as explosive, especially in the passing game, which was one of the big elements of his play that everyone liked him for so much. Kendre Miller looks like he's outplaying him right now. Maybe that's a factor for Saints to trade him to get more Kendre Miller snaps. I kind of like Cam Jordan. I wonder if the name does not match the level of play. So be honest with me. Do you think Alvin Kamara might actually be washed up? 0 for yes. He's got nothing to think. 1 for no. He can do it for 1 more year. 0 for yes, 1 for no. Finally, and I'll give Fox Sports credit for pointing it out because they were the original source on it. The Raiders are bad. We know it. Jakobi Meyers had requested a trade earlier in the offseason. Raiders said no. The Raiders are now a mess. Maybe now is the time to shop him and get something back and just kind of almost force Jack Bech into playing time. I know that he hasn't been the instant impact guy the Raiders were hoping for. They're banged up at tight end. Brock Bowers has been a disappointment. I know trading away your number 1 wide receiver by a pretty good margin from a target and catch perspective isn't how most teams operate, but maybe you just kind of force the Jack Bech era now. And you let Trey Tucker, Deontay Thornton, and Jack Bech be the wide receiver core in Vegas. Myers was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. With the way Geno Smith is playing, it doesn't feel like he's going to get to that figure this season. But I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up getting dealt. Maybe a team like Pittsburgh could make some sense given they look to every single wide receiver. If the Niners can't get healthy at that spot, maybe they could make some sense. But I think the selling for Vegas this type of player actually does make quite a bit of sense. It is mailbag time here on NFL Daily. Use hashtag NFL, or just like Bryce Blackwell did, you can get in via Super Chat. So use hashtag NFL, skip the line altogether via Super Chat. There were a couple of hashtag NFL questions I saw. I saw Eric Simmons come in, saw Skyler. There is room. I got confused by the plural singular noun there. There is room for more on that front. So if you have questions, trade ideas, thoughts, anything else in between, now is a fantastic time to do so. Get your questions in, comments, whatever, via hashtag NFL. I'm going to get some water so my throat does not dry out too much. Phrasing, but still. Get them in via hashtag NFL or Super Chat. You all set there, Producer Aiden? Sweet. Let's dive into today's mailbag. Your last chance for questions on the show, today at least. Before we dive into today's mailbag, how many trades happened from when you watch this video until the NFL trade deadline? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Got a $5 super chat from Bryce Blackwell. Thank you very much, Bryce. Everyone spam BB in the comments, too. What players do you see being traded to contenders or in general before the deadline or at the deadline, realistic options? It's a great question, Bryce. In addition to what I'll answer here briefly, we will have an entire NFL trade candidates video, probably multiple of them, because it's fun. People care about it. We will spend a lot of time on trades before the trade deadline. I think you're looking at teams that are going to sell. Teams like the Saints, could they shop an Alvin Kamara, a Cam Jordan, some of those big names, a DeMario Davis, if they want to embrace the rebuild? The Jets, could they shop a Breece Hall or someone along those lines? The Titans could almost trade anybody, it feels like. Jeffrey Simmons is the big fish name, but maybe Tyler Lockett could be on the block again. He hasn't been that good for them. There's a lot of names. The Dolphins could trade all of their edges outside of Chop Robinson to contenders. That's what smart teams would do. The issue you run into is those teams that are bad, if you trade away your players, you might be getting yourself fired. So I would not be shocked if some of those names end up getting moved. From Lore, what week should the 49ers play Brock Purdy, and which defensive tackle should they trade for before the trade deadline? Oh, good question. I'll go with the defensive tackle part first. Injuries have been a factor here. Once everyone is healthy, I think they're actually in okay shape along the defensive line. Jeffrey Simmons is awesome. I don't know if they can realistically afford to go down that path. That might be a little bit too pricey for them to pursue. But like, could you call the Saints about like a Nathan Shepard? I believe he overlapped with Robert Saleh in New York. Like, that gives you another piece that's kind of in the Eric Armstead mold of being able to do some inside-outside stuff for you. That's maybe a bit more cost affordable. As for when the 49ers should play Brock Purdy, this is the cop-out answer, but it's the right answer. When he's healthy. Like, that's when you should bring him back. You know, is it against the Bucs? I don't know. Is it against the Falcons? Is it against the Texans? Is it against the Giants? Don't rush him back like you seemed to do last time, which you called, by the way, on our last mailbag. But when he's healthy, yeah, bring him back. From Joey Chestnuts, so I think that's Joey Chestnut's evil twin. What would it take for a Max Crosby trade? I think a lot of dysfunction from the Raiders organization, even more than what we are accustomed to. Look, Max Crosby is a Raider through and through. He loves that organization, maybe to a fault even, like some of the greats always have. He just got paid this offseason. He was excited about Pete Carroll. It has been bad in Vegas. It has been worse before, though, in Las Vegas. I think there was more hope this year, but all of the drama and BS that Max Crosby has gone through with that organization, he's still hanging out there. He's still loyal to that franchise until it comes of, I don't want to do this anymore. I want out. I don't think they'll do it. That point will eventually come, I think, whether it's this year, next year, 2 years from now, unless they get back on track. I think it would be an expensive trade. At least a first-round pick, probably more. I think his loyalty, until that changes drastically, the Raiders are not going to willingly trade him. So eventually, let's do it this way. Before this year's trade deadline, will the Raiders trade Max Crosby? Y for yes, N for no. I know 31 other franchises would love to get him. Will it happen? Y for yes, N for no. The Bright Wolf, Bijan, might win Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah, he might. Although it's funnily enough, only because he hasn't played as many games does he not technically lead the NFL in rushing yards. Although the pace he's been on would put him near that ballpark, but he's been really impactful as a receiver as well. Jonathan Taylor's had himself a pretty darn good season as well, so I wouldn't sleep on that one. But Bijan's been awesome. If he keeps carrying the Falcons, he's going to put himself into that Offensive Player of the Year conversation for sure. DC times Viper. Are the Jags a team to take seriously this season? I'm going to go with yes. It doesn't mean I think they're a Super Bowl team, but I do think we have to take them seriously as a playoff contender. They didn't have that many issues against Carolina in week 1. They beat the Niners, the only team to beat San Francisco this year. They just beat the Chiefs. They beat the Texans. They were a play away from beating the Bengals, who did have Joe Burrow, by the way, in that game. I think we will know for certain how good this Jags team is in 2 weeks. Seahawks, and then the Rams. I think that's a London game, by the way. If they win one of those games, given the rest of their schedule not being that challenging, yeah, I think they are a very legit team. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right could get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. It is simple to play. You pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. Get those picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. They also allow you to follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app and copy those lineups in one click. Friend, celebrity partner, whatever, you can do it all in the feed tab on Prize Picks. This is one of the football slates we got cooked up here. Less than Justin Fields passing yards. This is the week the fourth quarter BS stops and garbage time stops for Fields. Dylan Gabriel, less than passing yards against Pittsburgh. Deebo Samuel, how about a TD against the Bears? Go download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. DC times Viper again. Does Baker Mayfield deserve to be the MVP this year? It's either him or Josh Allen to me. I'll say a couple things. It is very early. You can go back and look after the first 5 weeks. Oftentimes, the Week 5 MVP leader does not win the award. There's so many games left to be played. Some players I want to mention as I think legitimate contenders, people who are in the running here. I think Baker is clearly one of them. I've been very impressed by his play, by his performance, everything else in there. I think Josh Allen is an obvious one. I had thought that, maybe Justin Herbert's year was going to come, but he's kind of faded a little bit. Other top odds getters right now, Patrick Mahomes, although they got to start winning more games if he's going to win that award. If Jordan Love can get the Packers back on track. Herbert, we mentioned. Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, the Cowboys actually make the playoffs, which is going to be a tough one. It is going to go to a quarterback whose team made the playoffs and probably exceeded expectation. That's going to be the tricky bit. From the Jungian Theory, who do you blame for the Cardinals losing Titans? Kyler Murray or the OC? Yes. Look, that game, the comedy of errors involved is unbelievable. You had, in no particular order, Kyler Murray running around and just flipping it 4 yards forward for the most blatant grounding ever. You had DeMarcado busting an almost 80 touchdown, just dropping the ball at the goal line. That would have been, I think, 27-6. Game's over. All you had to do was just score right there, and the game's over, and we're not having this conversation. 28-6. Yeah, 28-6. What are you doing? Kyler, make a play down the stretch, dude. One time. Don't let the ball hit your face mask and not dive on it. He pulled a Cam Newton. Also, you make the pick and you fumble it for a touchdown? Just unreal comedy of errors. That's the type of game that, that can break you. You got to recover because that went so wrong so many different ways to lose to a team that didn't deserve a win, frankly. So my answer is yes. Everybody gets blamed there in Arizona. From Donnie Boy, Chris Olave to the Giants. I am unconvinced the Saints are actually going to trade away Chris Olave. I also wonder although look, the Giants need a wide receiver to pair with Link Neighbors long-term and someone to help out Jackson Dart short-term. And you might be able to convince me, hey, F the picks. We have to make Jackson Dart work. Let's give him a real, legitimate playmaking receiver. So it's not Jalen Hyatt, who can't do anything, 5-yard and fall down Wan'Dale Robinson. He's actually better at the catch, but still. And Darius Slayton, who just runs fast. They need a real playmaker in that wide receiver room. So you can convince me on that. The Giants are also not good. And I wonder if it makes sense for them to be trading away assets when they might have an early pick. But if you get something back good for the Saints, maybe you consider it. Let me see your trade ideas in the comments section of today's show. Teams for players, let me know what you're thinking in the comments section of today's video in terms of trade ideas. From Christian, who I think is just trolling me directly right now. Can you see A.J. Brown being traded? I don't see it. I'm going to keep hearing how much A.J. Brown is frustrated by the organization. We mentioned it in our rumors video earlier on Tuesday. The Eagles would lose $9 million in cap space over the next 2 years combined if they flipped A.J. Brown right now. That actually is a little bit less savings because they're already eating some of the money of this year's base salary. I don't see it happening. I get that he's frustrated. It's this is very weird to say. They just won a Super Bowl. They can't be that mad about it, right? They got to be okay in the end. So I think it's a little bit of extra drama. A.J. Brown, he's a diva. You want a little bit of diva in your wide receivers. It's okay. I don't think a trade happens. Eric Simmons, should the NFL do overtime like college football does? I think so. Yes, I would move back to starting field position. Maybe I'd put it at midfield. Maybe I'd do that. But I do think, I don't believe in ending in ties. So however you want to go where there's no ties, let's do it. I think it was Jared who was like, oh, but the TV windows. Okay, don't do a commercial then. Oh, but that's not really why it's an issue. That's not really why. Come on, guys. For any other news that happens, rumors, of course, as well, we have you covered here on Chat Sports. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Christian, if the Ravens lose another game, the season is over. If not, how many more games they have to lose before we consider the season is over? So I'm gonna say this. I don't think they're gonna beat the Rams on Sunday. If they do, everything looks upright. The reason why I'm not gonna write off the Ravens yet is they have their bye. This is their schedule after the bye. Home against the Bears, at the Dolphins, at the Vikings, at the Browns, home against the Jets, home against the Bengals, home against the Steelers, at the Bengals, home against the Patriots, at the Packers, at the Steelers. So they're going to be favored in maybe all, if they can beat the Bears and get things back on track, they're going to have, I think, a chance to win all but 2 of those games, maybe 3 of them. That makes their margin for error essentially 0. But until they get to the 7-loss column before they make it 500, I'm not going to quite write them off, but the odds are very much stacked against them. It is not going to be easy for Baltimore. And if you're worried about them, you should be. From Ben, Jeffrey Simmons trade coming before the trade deadline. I actually wouldn't be shocked. He's playing good football. He's expensive. Tennessee could get a good asset for him. I wonder if, in the end, the solution involved is Tennessee keeps him for now and they try to save their head coach's job. Because you trade away Simmons, I do wonder if that's it for Brian Callahan. Name a player, big name or small name, who you think ends up getting dealt. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. NK Gaming with a very creative trade idea. Kayvon Thibodeau for T. Higgins. I like your thought process there. I think the Bengals say no. They went through too much to keep T. Higgins and make him the focal point of the offense along with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They did invest first-round picks in Shamar Stewart and Myles Murphy. I think that's a very clever idea from the Giants' perspective. I think for the Bengals, though, having just paid T, the money isn't particularly strong in terms of the savings there. It's a very clever thought. It's a very NBA-style trade. I mean that in a good way. I think for the Bengals, though, Higgins, Chase, and Burrow just aren't going to get dealt anytime soon. Who we got in this one? E for the Eagles, G for the Giants. For the Giants. I almost got that wrong there. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. E for the Eagles, G for the Giants. Let me know in the comments of today's show. We'll give some shout-outs here as well. I'm going to tweet out my short on Julius Wood making his way back to the Cowboys practice squad. Get those votes in, E or G. I like the Eagles. If they lose this game going into a long week, the meltdown in Philly media is going to be something to behold. And I don't mean that in a good way. So I am curious how that one ends up playing out. So I think they're going to run the heck out of football too, so I wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Let me get this tweet out real quick. Get your votes in. To the practice squad. Got to learn to spell words while typing. There we go. All right, E or G. I see a lot of E's in there. Shelley, Nicholas, Bryce, Christian, DC times Viper, Bears, just the Bears, voting E for the Eagles, Gaming, Wizard, Matthew, Gilliam, and more. Keep the comments coming. E for the Eagles, G for the G-Men, and we will break down my 2026 NFL mock draft next. As promised, it is time for my first in-season, 2026 NFL mock draft. Of note, before we dive in here, these are based on the 2026 Chat Sports Power Rankings for 2025. Excuse me. It's weird. It's awkward. If you don't like it, I'll have the link to the Power Rankings in the comments. You can go complain over there. Look, your team's good or it's not. Don't freak out too much about it. I will say this when it comes to the 2026 NFL Draft. I have zero idea who is actually going to be the number one pick. Heck, I don't even know who's going to go pro at quarterback. It is wildly unknown because some of the top current players in college football quarterback-wise, among the top betting favorites here, guys like Dante Moore, guys like Ty Simpson, well, they haven't played very much football. Fernando Mendoza is the current betting favorite. I actually don't hate that. Lenoris Sellers has a lot of upside, but he's not a finished product yet. All these guys, pretty much except for Garrett Nussmeier, can go back to school. There's other players who have peaked and fallen, Aller and Arch and all these guys. The quarterback class has a bunch of intriguing options, but nobody yet has cemented themselves as the obvious name, which makes it tough to figure out who the heck is the first quarterback taken in the 2026 NFL Draft. Get your predictions in for me right now in the comments section of today's show. I will do some teasing. I'm just going to ride, for the most part, with the draft odds, and it's so early. If you want to plug in somebody else, I get it. There's like 8 guys you can claim should at least have a chance to go in round 1 of this year's draft. Let's go into this here. Number 1 overall, Fernando Mendoza to the New York Football Jets here, the quarterback. I like a lot of what he does as a QB. I think that there's a lot of like real passing stuff, like real quarterback stuff that intrigues me, that looks good, that like is real actual quarterbacking play. And that stuff should be considered and should be remembered as it relates to what you're looking for in a QB. But he's not a perfect player either. He's not a finished product necessarily. I think there are some concerns that they need to figure out and vet. Number 2, to the Tennessee Titans, Ruben Bain, the edge rusher from the Miami Hurricanes. I think you can make an argument that the Hurricanes pass rusher has been one of, if not the best player in all of college football. He has been dynamic. He has been electric. He has been an impact player. Like he's been really good so far this year. He has been really good so far this season. I think Tennessee needs to get a pass rusher. Adding someone of that caliber helps them out in a significant fashion. Let's go to number 3 overall here. The Miami Dolphins, Peter Woods, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. I'll be honest, I don't have a great answer or a great solution for what the heck the Dolphins should do here. I do think that cornerback is probably the biggest concern or biggest solution and need for the Miami Dolphins. Can they get one? 3, I don't love the value necessarily, but I think he's doing much better after a bit of a slow start for the entire Clemson team. The Raiders now at number 4, Lenoris Sellers out of South Carolina. Again, I'm just kind of writing with the order here. I think upside-wise, you can make a very real argument that there is not a more talented quarterback in this year's class than Lenoris Sellers. Doesn't mean it's a guarantee he's going to be able to make everything work and develop and grow into the guy that I think everyone wants and needs him to be. But I think the upside, the talent is super intriguing for Lenoris Sellers. We'll put him at number 4 here to the Las Vegas Raiders. Number 5, the New York Giants. I think insert tackle here is going to be a very popular mock draft pick. Let's keep Jackson Dart upright and healthy and help him grow and develop. Oweh's got really good talent, ability. I think there is in a kind of strong offensive tackle class, I do think there is the potential that Oweh ends up being everything that the Giants have been hoping for as of late. Number 6, the Saints, another edge rusher here, Keldrick Falk out of Auburn. Look, I've waffled between going quarterback here for the Saints, frankly. Cam Jordan cannot play forever. Chase Young is unable to stay healthy. Adding a very talented impact player like Falk makes a lot of sense for a Saints team that is in probably a multi-year rebuild at this time. Who is your favorite player in the 2026 NFL Draft? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Who is your favorite player in this year's class? After a bit of a slow start to the season, Caden Proctor looks a heck of a lot better. That is the offensive tackle out of Alabama. Maybe he just had to get a catch, and that unlocked everything about his game on offense. He is looking like the guy I thought he was going to be, hoped he was going to be going into this season. Love what he's got. Love his athletic ability. Love the size. Bengals often like the big body tackles. And Orlando Brown might be washed. More offensive tackles here. Again, there's a lot of them that could be in range of that top tackle taken. Spencer Fano. Again, I thought about a quarterback here. If you're finishing out to the top 5, maybe there's enough good quarterback play to justify not taking one early. They do have to protect whoever that quarterback is going to be. Number 9, Caleb Downs out of Ohio State, the safety. Also a player who could be the best player in this year's class. I think he's best in the box. I think he fits pretty well with Trayvon Merrick. Carolina needs an impact piece on defense somewhere. They get one here with Downs. Number 10 is Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona State. I think the Cardinals need one more real pass-catching playmaker that's not Marvin Harrison Jr. and not Trey McBride. It is a lot of investment, but they didn't really address the offense that much last offseason. Today's show is made possible by Ethos, the father of 2 kids now. I'm tired, but it's also not fun to think about what would happen if something happened to you. And you do need to be prepared. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Ethos is a trustworthy company that disrupts the traditional life insurance industry, and as of March 2025, was named by Business Insider as the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. No medical exam is required. You just answer a few health questions and get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. 3 million families have completed their applications and trusted Ethos to help find the right coverage for them. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. That link is in the comment section and the description of today's show. Ravens at 11. I don't really know what to do here, and maybe with the Odafe Oweh trade, edge rusher makes even more sense. But I'm going to go corner. The Chidobe Awuzie, Jair Alexander thing is not working very well. Jerron McCoy is not healthy right now. I hope he gets healthy this season because he was awesome last year for Tennessee. And if he does return to form, there's top 15 pick written all over him. How about the Rams go quarterback here? Let's have some fun. Matthew Stafford can't play forever. And if they ever do, he's hurt and can't play for a season, they're going to be a bad team. I think Dante Moore in a Sean McVay offense would be awesome. This pick, by the way, is via the Falcons, part of their draft day trade last year. You could give him time to learn behind Matthew Stafford if you wanted to. But McVay's kind of reverted back to some under center play action stuff with Stafford. I think Dante Moore, coming from a different offense in Oregon, to be fair, would fit that pretty well. I think one of the more underrated names right now in college football for the draft process is Arvell Reese, linebacker out of Ohio State. He's been awesome for the Buckeyes. Like, I don't know if there's much of a difference between his play and Caleb Downs' play, frankly. He has surpassed Sonny Styles. He can do everything you want out of a linebacker. I think he should be in every single round 1 mock draft, even though he is super young and does not have to go pro yet. All right, so this is the Penn State guard. It's probably a little bit early for a guard, but I actually think interior line is a bigger issue right now for Houston. He goes by Vega Ioane, excuse me. Ola is also another Ola Fashanu type of name, so it's fun. I thought against Oregon, he was awesome. He was really impactful in pass pro as a run blocker. It's probably a little bit early for a guard at 14, but offensive lineman to Houston, plug it in every single mock draft. I think Jeremiah Love is going to be a very popular mock draft pick for me too. Cowboys getting good play out of Javonte Williams. I don't think anyone else is going to go running back quite that early. I don't think Houston would, by the way. Love does have some elements of Jahmyr Gibbs to his game, frankly. So Ben Johnson would love to have him. All right, the Vikings at 16. One of my favorite players, Mansour Delane, the Virginia Tech transfer, who has been awesome this year for LSU, gives the Vikings the legitimate number one corner that maybe they don't really have, despite piecemealing it together in impressive fashion each and every single season. Patriots get maybe their number one wide receiver, Mekhi Lemon, which is a fantastic name, as long as he's not a bust, because then the nicknames can turn pretty ugly there. He was lighting up bad competition against Georgia Southern and Missouri State. So how was he going to play against Michigan State, Illinois? 8 catches, 127 yards and a TD, plus a TD on the ground against Michigan State. 11 catches, 151 yards and 2 scores against Illinois. He's really good. Go figure. I also love this fit for the Chiefs. How about Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon? Doesn't have to go pro if he didn't want to. This is your Travis Kelce replacement. Maybe not fair for the Chiefs to get him. Steelers go Ty Simpson out of Alabama. Ty Simpson, much like Dante Moore, it's a very small sample size of play, but the stuff we've seen so far this year has been really good. He maybe didn't have his best stuff in the first game of the season against FSU, but didn't have any interceptions. Since then, his worst game, quote unquote, was against Georgia, where he was 24 of 38 for 276 and 2 scores. He's been lights out so far this year. A lot more challenging games to come. We'll get a better feel for how good he actually is against, programs like Tennessee as they move further into the campaign. How he's looking against Missouri, LSU, Oklahoma. But I love what I've seen from Ty Simpson. I think he fits decently the Arthur Smith offense. I think he can definitely do some play action stuff that we know how much Arthur Smith loves. How many quarterbacks go in round 1 this year? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Get those predictions in right now. I will say, I did this Chargers pick in the mock draft before the Odafe Oweh trade. But I was right to point out, hey, they needed some pass rush help. Of note for Odafe Oweh, he is a free agent after this year, so still applies. Getting some pass rush juice is needed. TJ Parker, Peter Downs, Avion Terrell didn't have the best start to their season. They were better last week. It was a bad team. Hopefully that continues. Cassius Howell, the edge out of Texas A&M, has been very impactful. Not the biggest guy, but I think having a pure edge to replace Von Miller in that kind of speedy edge rusher role makes a lot of sense for the Commanders. Kind of don't think Reek Wollen's going to stick around into next season for Seattle. I think something's going to happen there. We'll see. Avion Terrell, bit of a slow start, playing better like Clemson did, at least against North Carolina. Another outside corner option. Look, I've been impressed by Josh Jobe, but I've been impressed by Darion Kendrick. I question if those are reliable long-term pieces. Number 23, the Rams take Caleb Lomu, the other offensive tackle out of Utah. Help keep that new franchise quarterback and or Matthew Stafford upright. Cardell Tate's been balling this year. Every time there's a big play needed to be made, he's the one making. He's benefited. He is benefiting from so much attention being paid to Jeremiah Smith. But Cortland Sutton would get the attention still in Denver. I think that's actually a good fit for Sean Payton's offense. A.J. Harris been a little bit up and down. The UCLA game was a nightmare for everyone at the Penn State program. This pick from the Jags, not as high as the Browns thought it was going to be, it feels like right now. But Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson are both free agents in Cleveland. If you guys want more NFL mock drafts, hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Now the Cowboys get their edge rusher back-to-back the front 7 picks here for the Cowboys. Mateo Uiagalelei, bigger body, good athlete. I'm waiting to see a little bit more dominance, but I've seen flashes of it even more so this year. And the Cowboys love these big body athletic edges too. I'm going to keep mocking a Trent Williams replacement until the day I die for the 49ers, or because I don't know if he's ever going to do it there. Jennings Dunker, who looks like what you would picture Jennings Dunker looking like out of Iowa. He's been really good this year, by the way, for the Hawkeyes. Not everyone is super high on Anthony Hill Jr. I actually think there's a lot of upside and ability there. And I think inside linebacker, look, Sir Fachier Dennis is just getting picked on. Let's try Anthony Hill. And I think some of the best stuff Anthony Hill does is blitzes. I think he's athletic enough to have success there. That fits pretty well with a Todd Bowles defense. Amari Washington, the tackle out of Oregon. Look, the Colts finished 29th. Wow, what a season that was for Indy. But again, it's based on the current power rankings. I did, by the way, adjust to make it make sense of AFC, NFC in each of the last two spots because Super Bowl winner and everything there. Grover Stewart's getting up there in age. I don't know how much more he has left. And DeForest Buckner's getting a bit older there. Washington will be kind of your long-term piece. How about the other Tennessee cornerback, Colton Hood? Look, the number 2 corner spot, Philadelphia, is an eyesore. Get some help. Come on. Bills, a pass rusher. They keep throwing assets at the spot. I get it. Or assets, excuse me. They have to keep trying. Same with the receiver spot, frankly. I think Gregory Rousseau is one piece. I haven't seen anything from Landon Jackson. This is almost a pure pass rusher. It's a different body type than what the Bills have, which makes him a pretty solid fit. Could have gone a lot of different directions here for the Lions at number 32. I'm going to go with L.T. Overton. The Bama can do some inside, can do some outside stuff, which fits, I think, long-term of he's a base edge and then kicks inside to DT on passing downs, which the Lions don't really have that type of player right now. So grade this 2026 NFL mock draft. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Then we will get to the second round picks, because I love the Falcons, Jags, and Packers fans as well. Falcons, I'll go Chris Bell, the Louisville wide receiver. Height, weight, speed profile, production, adding somebody not named Drake London at wide receiver who's healthy would be beneficial for the Falcons. Dante Corleone, the Godfather. The medical is, I think, actually kind of a pretty big question mark and might be a little bit too much to overcome. But, yeah, Mason Smith, Devon Hamilton, those guys haven't lived up to expectations. There's an interior piece for Jacksonville. And under the radar name, Chris Johnson, no, not that one, the San Diego State cornerback. I even got producer Aiden on that one there. He was confused for a second. Has been really good for the Aztecs. And the Packers pretty clearly need to go get a cornerback right now. They don't have enough at that spot. Some other notable prospects I want to mention. I could have done all quarterbacks, like Sawyer Robertson has shown some fun stuff. Josh Hoover, even Brendan Sorsby, some Big 12 guys. I need to see more. Garrett Nussmeier, John Mateer are pretty popular round 1 mock draft picks, but I'm not sold on anybody yet in this class. I think Nuss is also kind of banged up right now. Denzel Boston is a super fun playmaker. Chris Brazzell's got the speed and even a bit better route runner than most of these Tennessee receivers are. Trevor Gooseby, I think, is an underrated guy at Texas. They haven't been that good this year. Christian Miller is maybe the best Georgia defensive player, but they kind of look bad, by the way. R. Mason Thomas is an athletic edge. Don't love him against the run, but he could be a sneaky round 1 pick. Lesser names, Jake Golday for Cincinnati's had a really good season. Emmanuel McNeil Warren feels like your first Mid-American Conference player drafted, maybe even top 50. And Rod Moore, medical concerns, but he has been much better for Michigan now that he's healthy. So who won the Joe Flacco trade? C-I-N for the Bengals, C-L-E for the Cleveland Browns. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. 53% voting in favor of the Browns. So get those votes in, C-I-N-C-L-E. We will see you guys again next week here on NFL Daily. We'll have more videos throughout the week as well. Do not miss out. Hit that sub button right here so you get even more free NFL YouTube videos.